My wife cheated on me with her coworker, so I took revenge for her actions. It's strange how life can turn on its axis so suddenly. One minute, everything seems perfect: the house, the car, the career, the marriage. And the next, it all comes crumbling down. That's what happened to me when I found out that the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, had betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. She cheated on me with her coworker, a man I didn't even know existed. But what hit harder than her infidelity was how she tried to justify it. That's what drove me to the brink of a decision that would change everything. Let me give you some background. We'd been married for 7 years, and for the most part, I thought we were doing well. Sure, there were the typical ups and downs, but who doesn't have that? She was my best friend, my confidant, the person I turned to when life got difficult. We met during our college years, and like most college sweethearts, we thought we were invincible, that nothing could break our bond. After graduation, we both started our careers, and we settled into a life that was comfortable. I worked as a software engineer, and she, a marketing manager at a well-established firm. We had a routine: breakfast together in the morning, work, dinner, and then a couple of hours watching TV or talking about our day before bed. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. For years, I thought this would be our forever. But then, she started coming home later and later. It started as small changes: 1 or 2 late nights at work. Then, it became more frequent. She'd be out for hours, sometimes not even answering my calls. I tried to brush it off. I mean, work can be demanding, right? She had recently been promoted, and her responsibilities had increased. But something in my gut told me that something wasn't right, and then came the night I found out everything. It wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to go snooping around, but I'd been feeling anxious and uncertain for a while. So, when she left her phone on the counter one evening, I couldn't help but glance at it. What I saw turned my world upside down. Messages. Countless messages between her and a man I had never heard of. His name was David. David, her coworker. The man she'd been seeing behind my back. The messages were so blatant. There were pictures, there were declarations of love, there were plans to meet up, all of it. She had been seeing him for months, and I had no idea. It was as though my entire marriage had been a lie. The worst part wasn't even the cheating itself, it was the deception. The calculated way she had hid it from me. I confronted her that night. She tried to act surprised, but her face told a different story. She had already anticipated that I would find out sooner or later. She explained it all. She told me that I had been distant, that I had been too wrapped up in my work, that she needed more than I was giving her. She claimed that David made her feel wanted again. I was crushed, gutted, like someone had punched me in the stomach. At that moment, I knew I had to make a decision. I could either let this betrayal destroy me, or I could take control. For the first time in our marriage, I realized I had been living in the shadow of her decisions. She had the power. She had made the choice to cheat, and now it was my turn to make mine. The next few days were a blur. I didn't know what to do, how to handle it. I could have left her, walked away from the marriage and never looked back. But I wasn't just angry, I was hurt, and when you're hurt, the desire for revenge can be a powerful thing. So, I decided to get even. Not just to get back at her, but to make her feel what I had felt. I wasn't sure at first how to go about it, but one night, as I lay awake in bed, it hit me. I needed to hit her where it would hurt the most: her relationship with David. I started with David's life. I knew that he had been with his fiancée for a few years, though they weren't married yet. I began researching him, finding out everything I could. It wasn't hard. People think they can hide their tracks online, but there's always a trail if you know where to look. I discovered where he lived, where he spent his weekends, even where he had gone to school. I also learned that his fiancée had been suspecting something for a while but hadn't been able to prove it. I reached out to her. I knew it was a dangerous move, but I couldn't just sit back and let David continue his affair with my wife without consequence. I told her everything. I sent her screenshots of the messages I had found, pictures of their meetups, and even a few video clips of them together that I had managed to acquire. She was devastated. Her reaction was just like mine: shock, disbelief, anger, all rolled into one. I didn't feel sorry for her. I didn't care. In that moment, all I felt was the sweet satisfaction of knowing that I was causing him the same pain he had caused me. The next step was to confront my wife again. This time, I didn't go in with the hope of salvaging anything. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she had done. I told her about everything: how I knew about David, how I had reached out to his fiancée, and how I had made sure that everyone in their circle knew about the affair. I could see the color drain from her face. She begged for forgiveness, saying it was a mistake, that she didn't know how to fix it, but I didn't care. She had broken something inside me, and there was no repairing it. She wanted to fix things? Well, now she would have to live with the consequences of her actions. As time passed, I watched as her life unraveled. Her relationship with David crumbled after his fiancée left him, and she was left to deal with the fallout. Her colleagues began treating her differently. Her friends stopped calling. She found herself alone. She tried to reach out to me multiple times, but I refused to take her calls. I was done. Months later, I ran into her at a coffee shop. She looked different, worn down. Her eyes were hollow, and her once vibrant energy was now replaced with a quiet sadness. She tried to approach me, but I stopped her. "I hope you've learned something from all of this," I said. "Because you don't get to hurt people and expect them to just forgive you. I gave you everything I had, and you threw it all away for a man who wasn't even worth your time. So, don't come back to me now." She tried to apologize, but I cut her off. "I helped you when you needed me. I was there. And now, you have nothing but your choices to live with." It was the final blow, and it felt good. I moved on. I found peace. I focused on my career, on myself, and on rebuilding my life without her. Over time, I found love again with someone who respected me and valued me the way I had always deserved. But I'll never forget the way my wife tried to tear my world apart. And I'll never forget the way I made her regret it. She taught me one valuable lesson: betrayal may feel like the end of the world, but it can also be the start of something much better.